Okay, now
Oh,
you
does it
are
say,
free to begin.
it says live. Okay, so we're ready to go. Okay. I call this meeting to order at 5:35, I think. Okay, roll call. Bobby Maxwell here.
Willie Gray.
Okay,
Here.
Willie Gray. Don't forget to mute yourself. We
Okay.
have Franco Pacheco. Are you there, Franco? Are you with us?
Here.
Okay, and then Diane Nielsen. Great.
I'm
I'm trying to find the mute. Why do we need to mute ourselves?
Well, that way, well, you don't have to, just don't interrupt, please.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to public comments. This is the time when any member of the public that would like to comment on any items not on the agenda to do so right now. So are there any members of the public? You're gonna have to let me know, Leslie, about.
Yes,
Has
sir.
anyone submitted any public comment?
We have not. So the way that we're participating via public comment on this Zoom meeting is people can email the email address that's listed on the top of the city council agenda, or sorry, the Planning Parks and Recreation Commission agenda. I apologize. I'm published in 3 packets today. So if they email cityclerk@ci.seaside.ca.us throughout the course of the meeting, we will read those into the record as the item hits, but we haven't received any just yet, sir.
Okay, thank you. So right now I'm going to speak for Earl Smith as far as public comment. Okay. Can everybody hear me? Okay, there's a lady that her name is Terry Edwards. She lives up by Capra Park, 1372 Soto is her address. And Burl Smith would like to nominate this lady somehow. I don't know if that's the proper thing, but she would like to nominate this lady to be like the caretaker or whatever of this park. She has gone to great lengths to purchase plants and fix up the landscaping some there. She's done, I mean, really a lot of nice work there. And she's taking ownership of her neighborhood park, put it that way. So anyway, that's what I wanted to comment on. And then we'll move on. Okay, approval of the minutes for the February 10th, 2020 meeting. Everybody have a copy of that or looked it over? Okay, I can't really hear anything from anyone else, so I don't know if I'm still.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes from the last meeting.
I
Okay.
second.
Okay, it's been motioned and approved to accept the minutes from the February 10th meeting, which was the last meeting. Anything under the question? No. All in favor? You
Aye.
can raise your hand or aye.
Aye.
Okay, aye. Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, review of the agenda. Did everyone have a chance to look at the agenda? If you want to add anything. Everybody happy with the agenda, how it is?
Yes.
Yes.
I can
Yeah.
roll it. Don't know anybody else. Okay, everybody good? Hi, Franco, welcome. I finally saw you. Okay, so we'll move on to the business items. Okay, 6A, discuss and finalize the 2020-2021 work plan. That was part of our homework over these last few months, was to look at the annual work plan and either like it or want to change it or whatever. Everyone has a draft, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's your pleasure? Do we want to discuss it, change some things, or what?
I make a motion that we approve this. because we've been going over it for quite a while now.
Okay. It's been motion to approve it, the draft,
Bobby,
anyways. What?
so you guys
What?
got the draft that Rich put together, the 2021 work plan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was looking at. I
Yes,
would recommend you guys do a little discussion on these topics, because obviously, given the state of where we're at right now, things are gonna change a little bit. So we need to kind of see what can realistically be done through this body moving forward over the next year, given the constraints that we may have. And, you know, and I think there may be some new topics that may come up or may have come up over the last 4 months that you guys want to include into this document. So that's just my 2 cents, but it is up to you guys to make that decision. I just wanted to let that be known. Thank you.
that makes a lot of sense.
No, it does, because money had to be moved around and we didn't really have any money to begin with.
It might help, Dan. Is
Go ahead,
there a
Franco.
chance we can? I apologize. In the upper corner, is there a way, Mr. Mewis, that you can update us on kind of what some of the limitations we're going to face now that we have a better idea? Because I imagine you have the best inside ball knowledge on that one.
Yes.
Yeah, that was going to be part of my update. So if you want, we can do, maybe it makes sense for me and Scott to do our updates first.
Yeah.
So then you guys can kind of hear everything and then make your recommendations on how you want to tackle the work plan.
Come back, yeah.
I love that. Can I motion then that we skip the item A and move the items B and C to return to item A after we've heard the updates?
I second that.
Okay, it's been motioned and seconded to realign the order of topics. All in favor? Aye.
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 All right.
Okay, motion passed. Okay, so we'll go with the update on the rec department first.
All right, everybody. So good evening. Obviously, since March 16th, things have been a little bit a challenge for our rec department. We have been basically shut down since that time. We are remaining shut down through the summer at this point. Our financials are a little on the downward slope for running programs. So I've been meeting regularly, probably every 2 weeks, with the other directors and city managers on the peninsula, and meeting with the health officer, Dr. Moreno. And we've been trying to come up with plans on how we can start to slowly open up different sectors of recreation. The first area that was opened up was the essential childcare for essential staff and essential workers. So basically city staff, if they needed it. We were offering that for a little bit of time, but we only had one staff that participated into it. Just recently, they did open up guidelines for day camps. However, the day camp has a lot of stipulations where we can only have 12 kids per location or per room, if you will, with 1 to 2 staff, and those kids would have to be together for 4-week minimum. So it makes things challenging because they could not intermingle with other kids. So if we had 12 kids in one room and then another 12 kids in another room, those kids would have to stay segregated for 4 weeks. And they would not be able to play any tag games or any kind of activities where there was contact. They would have to maintain the social distancing aspect. They would have to have their own supplies and equipment. So they couldn't share art supplies. They couldn't share books or Legos or anything like that. So really put our programs in a in an interesting spot if we were to operate them. So it is a challenge in that aspect. And then the health officer's main concern was that the 4-week period of keeping those kids together, as that would be 2 incubation cycles in case somebody was infected with the virus, and making sure that it was limited to only that cohort of kids. So we are trying to look and see how we can try and offer something this summer. We have a couple ideas that we're working on. Camp in a Box program where we basically put box of activities together. Then the kids in that camp would then meet potentially with a counselor via Zoom, and they would go over different science experiments or activities, you know, to kind of break that away a little bit. So that's one area we're trying to do. We've really focused on our virtual website, trying to get more activities in play there. It's hard because right now, really the main rec staff that we have is myself and Ashley, and we have other projects that we're doing. So for us to physically do those kind of projects is a bit challenging. Most of the staff have been on furlough since the beginning, since March 13th. There are a handful that are working, but they're primarily admin. You know, we were still going through and refunding everything from March, April, May, and June. We haven't gotten into July yet. So we're still trying to kind of tackle that beast, if you will, because there was a lot of cancellations that we had to do, all of our programs, of all of our rentals. There was weddings we had to cancel, a lot of big name events actually. So it's been a bit challenging. We've been working, you know, the one area that we have been able to really kind of excel in is the senior program. We've been doing, excuse me, doing the Great Plates program through the state and through FEMA. So we have 51 seniors that have met all the criteria of the program. So they've been getting 3 meals a day by 2 different restaurants in Seaside. So we've been supplying that, and that's been keeping the senior staff pretty busy. They're delivering the Meals on Wheels daily to anyone that would normally come into our center and have their congregate meal. And that's been a little service that we've been doing for them, which has been nice because they typically wouldn't be getting that meal delivered through Meals on Wheels because they wouldn't meet their criteria. So staff is doing that daily. We've also been really kind of hitting the food distribution. So we've done 2 different food distributions through the food bank at City Hall so far. We did one in May, and we just did one 2 Saturdays ago. And we're planning on having another one on July 11th. So that's kind of really been the area we've been really kind of focusing on, is food distribution and helping the families in need. And then we've also been delivering meal kits to the seniors every Friday. So we have 70 deliveries we've been delivering out to the seniors, fresh fruits, produce, anything that the food pantry or food bank will give us. So that's really kind of all we've been focusing on over the last 3 months. Did get the okay just this last week to open the skate park and the tennis courts. So we do have 2 park amenities that are open right now. I was actually tasked by our group to develop the guidelines for the skate park. And so I was happy when I submitted them to the health officer and they got approved. So that allowed us to be able to open the park, and we did that on Saturday. I know there's still a lot of talk for the dog park and the playgrounds and things of that nature, but they're still considered high touch areas. So the health officer hasn't made a decision on that. And primarily with the dog park, we've been getting a lot of calls, but his concern is that the virus can be transmitted through dogs and through the people congregating at the dog park, as it, you know, as we know, it's a popular place. So he's definitely concerned about that, and he's really waiting for guidance from the state. The one area that we're getting a lot of calls about too is youth sports. I know Seaside Pony, Seaside Raiders are coming up here, and a lot of the other soccer groups that are really dying to get on the field, but that's the health officer's main concern again is these are areas where it's really hard to maintain social distancing, and then there's a lot of shared equipment that could, transfer the virus. So he's still waiting on the state to provide guidance on that. I know the main concern is, you really, if you're going to have, Little League games, there's a lot of fans in the stands, and I think they're not to a point to tell them, the leagues to say, hey, you can play these games, but the parents can't come. And I think that that's going to be a big driving force, because we all know that, the attendance at Seaside Pony game or a Raiders football game, or even these soccer games that we have, they're in the hundreds. So that is definitely a major area of concern from the health department. So we're trying to get things up and running, but we're really at the whim of Mr. Moreno, Dr. Moreno. I'm not sure if you guys know, as well as the fire department has taken up a second residence here at the Oldemeyer Center. So that has kind of been another piece of the puzzle, because we are keeping the building closed. So we kind of limit the potential spread for the firefighters as well. So these are, kind of areas we're all trying to navigate and work through on a daily basis. Hopefully we can get something open soon. The pool is another big one, but while the pool is, heavily chlorinated, it's the fact that the pool is a gathering place, and there's a lot of high touch areas in the pool, and you're not going to wear a mask when you're swimming. And it's really hard to have everyone socially distant while they're at the pool, especially for like rec swims and things like that. So we're really trying to stay safe and maintain this level of safety, and just maintain the ability to keep our staff and our patrons, virus free at this moment. So that's feel kind of long-winded. That's a lot right there, but I'm happy to answer any questions too, if you guys have any.
Anybody have questions?
I do.
Okay.
Mr. Mewis, so in theory, when are we looking at starting maybe possibly the Camp in the Box program, or do we have timelines and all of that, or kind of when you're making that decision?
We're developing it now. I'm hopefully by the end of the month, if not, get something going for July, and have July be the start date for that. I'm tentatively looking at staffing to see if we can maybe get at least 1 or 2 weeks of camp at the end of July, just to kind of give some parents some reprieve before school starts back up, because we know that's going to be a challenge. But it's really just figuring out the spacing and logistics for that. So we're trying to put together a plan, but ideally the Camp in the Box, I'd like to get that going, if not the end of June, the beginning of July.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any questions?
I have another one, not to be the new guy that gives Mr. Mewis a hard time. Not my intent.
Okay. That's okay.
Question, Mr. Mewis, with the new budget that I hope got posted today, and kind of looking at it last week.
Are you there? You're freezing.
Right.
He's gone.
He's froze. Oh, well.
I have a question, and maybe I didn't hear it right at the city council meeting. When you're doing the recreation summer jobs program, obviously there are no summer jobs, right?
So
How does that work?
what we're going to do with that's primarily, there are still a few areas that they can do that. Obviously, there's not going to be anything in the rec department, but we're developing a plan where they'll actually go in and be helping in the parks, kind of cleaning up, pulling weeds, doing things to make our parks look good, because that's where we want people to start going. As the weather gets nicer, if there's no programs, at least they can still visit these parks. So we're looking at potentially putting the kids in little pods of 6 to 7. They'll have a seasoned rec employee kind of being their supervisor, and then they would be getting tasks at a different park daily. They could also help working with the facilities and other areas of that nature. And then there may be a handful of positions to help with some admin work here and there as well.
Great, thanks.
Franco, are you back with us?
I am. I'm sorry, my audio cut out. I just asked, with this new budget that's been proposed kind of coming through, is there any major roadblocks you see coming down here?
No, we all had to make cuts, and I didn't really get into it. And for me, I was trying to think of what was feasible to get to the city's overall target number. So we went with the 35% cut to part-time staff. So while we're not cutting any people, hours will be cut. But I think given with the parameters that we're working with right now, it shouldn't be too much of a problem because we don't have very many programs going on. So when we finally do get them up and running, I think we'll be able to stay within those the hours that we have budgeted for, because we're not doing really any of the summer work right now. And when we do kind of get going, it will be a slow start. It's not like we're going to be like, hey, we can go and we're opening, so everyone's back to work and we're full bore. It's going to be a slow moving process. So by the time we do, hopefully by next summer, I would like to be where we are last summer, but you just never know. But to answer your question, I don't foresee any big roadblocks right now with what our current budget is.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? No.
I want
Okay.
to ask, are they gonna have live swimming instructors this summer? Or that swimming instructor program, is that gonna be active or no?
The pool, no. Right now, the pool is going to remain closed at least through June, most likely through July. Hopefully we can get something in August. But I think when we do finally reopen, it will most likely be like lap swim and those kind of activities where we can kind of limit people to a lane or so. When you talk about swim lessons, those are primarily in groups from outside of the household. And right now we're trying to maintain everyone within the same household if possible. So that's kind of where we're at.
All righty. Thank you. You did talk about park operations and maintenance too, somewhat in your report right now? No. Do you want to do that? I mean, that's the next part of the agenda.
Well, Scott's here,
But-
and I think Scott's got some good
Okay.
news that you guys might like to hear. So, he's a little
Okay,
bit more, he's
yeah.
got a little good news compared to all my bad news.
Thanks,
Didn't know
Dan.
Scott was there. Hey, Scott,
Good evening.
go ahead.
So, I guess the good news is that there is a small improvement budget for a few of the parks in this year's budget. We're looking at improvements to the Sonoma Sports Court that we got some funding assistance with from the recreation or the neighborhood improvement folks. So we're going to award a contract this Thursday for that work. The budget also includes the ADA amenity at Laguna Grande. So we're going to move forward with design of that ADA merry-go-round that we had talked about a few months back.
Nice.
So there's that's in the budget. And then the CDBG money for Ellis phase 1, we actually received a little bit of money that's to be well, we received money and it's kind of spread out between the end of this fiscal year and into next. So we will probably prioritize looking at Ellis Park at the latter part of this fiscal year, so maybe late spring of next year, to ramp up and finish out the phase one construction. And lastly, Catino Park still has a little bit of bond money left over, and we are currently in design for a parking lot, a small parking lot at Catino Park, which will be interesting. So we're in design and figuring out the total budget, because it will imply relocating the current playground at Catino Park that's kind of down from the Boys and Girls Club. So there is some work. Engineering has been tasked with a lot of road maintenance and reconstruction work this year. So we're strapped a little bit, but we'll fortunately the Sonoma project's designed, so that construction should start this summer and be probably finished in just a matter of a month or so, a couple months. The Laguna Grande like I said, we'll have to get a consultant on to finish out design of the ADA, other amenities, the path. So we'll have to get our design consultants in, get the bids and specs together. That'll take a couple months, but we'll move forward. I'll work with Dan to get that merry-go-round in as soon as we can. So those are my updates. And then Dave Fortune wanted me to also remind, we are looking at installing the solar lights at the portal, the sign to the city. So there'll be some solar lighting that's going to be so that you have night lighting, lighting up the signs at night. So that's my update for what we hope to accomplish this year.
I'll just throw in there
Thank
too a
you,
little
Kurt.
piece. When everyone started sheltering in place and just walking a lot more, I got a request for us to install some doggy stations up at General Gym, the trailhead up there, like along General Gym and underneath the power line. So we were able to put those in, and I think it really helped up there too. So we put a couple of those doggy stations up there, because more people were using that trail. So, the leftover ones we had went to good use. So I just wanted to share that with you guys.
Well, that's good. Did the ones that we designated for each park, did they all get installed? Where we had figured out how many and where at all the different parks to begin with?
I believe so. The only one that I believe didn't happen is Catino. There's
Right.
no one at Catino right now.
Okay. And we had plenty enough to do the other. That's good. That's cool. As long as we didn't leave any park out. Okay. Thank you, Scott. Very good. Okay, backing up to discussing the annual work plan. Anyone would like to speak out? Go ahead. Diane, Franco, Willie.
I think we should do a little, like Daniel said, do a little research on this. And,
Okay.
Because there's a lot of things that we need to look at, So
Yes, there is.
I think we should put this on hold for a while to a later meeting and do some research, and everybody can look through the whole thing and come back with some ideas.
I'm good with that.
I had a couple questions, if that's okay.
Go ahead, Franco.
And sorry, Mr. Mewis kind of touched on this a little bit, and so did Mr. Ottmeyer, but with this, the virus happening, we've seen a larger emphasis on our trail system. And so if we're going to do research, that's fine. My question is really, Mr. Mewis or Mr. Ottmeyer, is there improvements to those trails that, because I think we're going to be in the situation where we're going to be outdoor wrecking a lot more by ourselves and things like that. Is there any emphasis you could see we should probably move to being in those trails or improving them in some way?
Well, let me think about this, because the real trails that I know of, other than the ones that are around the parks, there's a lot of those ones that will need to get done because they are, some of them are in pretty bad shape. I don't know what the feasibility is of replacing them with the current asphalt or even DG would be, because, that is a hefty price tag. As for the trails that are like up underneath off General Gym, those are pretty much just dirt trails that people have kind of just made over time. So I don't know if we would even be able to, how that would look like. Scott, do you foresee any issues with any of that?
Well, in the near term, you touched on the budget. I wouldn't expect us to be dedicating any significant funds toward physical improvements. I would say that there's a lot of, there's effort in the FORTAG with the regional trail program. They're funded for design. You'll see some work, but we're talking over the next couple of years, off of Canyon Del Rey and Delray Oaks up to Fremont. We have hopes to connect through the old General Gym alignment, some of the improvements for the rec trail, and then get along General Gym and into the eastern portion. But we're at planning level efforts at that stage, and it's really being run by TAMSI. So as far as trails go, yeah, there's not a lot of money toward physical improvements right now.
Thank you.
One thing you guys could do though, is you could, start looking at the trails and identify sections or portions that could potentially, see some upgrades, and then have that be part of it. Obviously, so that way you start having a plan as when we do get funding or, these areas of improvement, you already have an idea of where, like, kind of like your priority list. Like if you want to do the trail around Cunningham Park as a priority one, and kind of go that way. Just my my thoughts.
There is like the trail up there by the water tower. That's like people, we just walked as it went on over the years, people walking around it. That's a trail now, going up and around and down and going down the street. So that's one area I would, think about us looking at.
Another question. So you
Okay,
kind of touched on this, Mr. Mewis, that trail that kind of has been force made by people kind of walking on top of Jim Moore that goes to the water tower and around, that isn't actually an official park or trail. Is that correct?
I believe that is correct. I don't think it's identified as a park or a trail right now. It's is it just a green space, Scott?
It is land. I don't know how the city council intends to use it off the top of my head. So it's certainly functioning as open space at the moment. And you know, there could be, I would agree that getting a good consensus from the community on potential open space uses might be a valuable use of this committee's resources. So it certainly works well as a recreation trail in my estimation. Again, I don't know what the city fully intends to do with it. The council members, that is. But, you know, whether that's something to put into a longer range plan to come up with an idea or a plan that is endorsed by the community as a whole, that certainly would be useful.
I know that at one point, and I think it was last year, there was a group of CSUMB students that did some sort of work about trying to make it a linear park, but I don't necessarily know what happened with that.
I don't either. They did show up to one of our meetings in kind of large number, really. And they were gonna make it a capstone project or something, designing a linear park. I remember that.
Because down at the bottom of it, there's a fenced off area that's part of that but nobody uses it because it's fenced off, but it's part of that same area that the city owns, that area down at the bottom, very bottom of the hill.
Fenced off because that was Fort Ord.
Yeah. Right by the gate.
Yes. Okay, any more discussion on this? So, are we gonna, we'll just table this and think about some other options and ideas and come back next month and for more discussion.
Diane
Right?
has a question. I have
Okay,
some
Diane.
on our last meeting in February, I made some notes about trees, placing trees, removing, taking action on placing trees. Do you remember talking about trees? I think that's something that
Yes.
Rich had brought up. Do you
I'm
remember
raising
that?
my hand. You just can't see me though. I
Pardon?
believe that is something we talked about, especially because we had the commissioner from the environmental committee come in and we had discussed the idea of tree removal and the process and everything else.
Yes, and I think that is, you know, something worth talking about more in our for our new budget year. And also maintaining our current equipment in different parks, you know, either painting it or putting the pollinator plants. I don't know if any pollinator plants went into any of those or if that's all FOSPA driven.
I
Do you
believe
know?
the pollinators did go into Manzanita Stewart. That's one of the parks that they did identify. They had a bunch at City Hall. But I know they put them out in other parks. I'm not exactly sure which parks they went into.
I'm not either.
I would say that the budget for trees is probably, if it's gonna fall down, we'll take it down. But other than that, I wouldn't expect a lot of proactive removal of trees. And certainly we're not funded for buying lots of trees. We're always looking at ways to further away some of those resources. And I don't want to promise or guarantee anything, but we look to some of our utilities that occasionally have to take trees down, such as PG&E. and ask that they replace them, and sometimes they can't be replaced. They were taken down for a reason because it's a conflict with the utility. So if there's an option or an opportunity for a utility company like PG&E to have to provide a tree to replace one they're taking down, we will look to do that and then find a suitable location within some of our parks or open spaces.
And along that line, Dan, would seeking grants for treating be appropriate?
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I mean, it's definitely a possibility. That's something that the commission wants to work with.
Okay, so we can talk about, those are just a couple of things that I remember from last time. I guess we're gonna move forward and talk about the budget next time, finalizing it. Correct?
Well, you guys could go through and see, what the draft was here. See if any of these ones are still relevant. And then if there's any new ideas you guys want to throw in here, we can do that. Leslie, are you still on the call?
I'm still here.
When do you want the final work plan?
The work plans are actually due a long
April.
time ago. Yeah, they were due in April. But the COVID situation just threw everything for a loop. I was waiting to kind of get through the budget city council meeting, understanding how often the boards and commissions are going to meet, actually get the boards and commissions to meet. So would giving you guys one more meeting help with this? Or I don't know when the next time you're going to meet is. So that's
month.
something that challenges me.
The 20th of next month?
Right. July 20th is our next scheduled regular meeting.
Right. So Dan, is it okay if I just give an update on what
Yes.
we're proposing this Thursday?
Yes.
So due to the budget, the COVID-19 impacts to our budget, we've had to eliminate a series of staff members, which means there's not as many staff members available to facilitate boards and commissions. So we, instead of just trying to discontinue or consolidate all the boards and commissions, we're proposing that we reduce the frequency of meetings. So
Okay.
we think that staff, the council actually, this was their idea, and they proposed meeting only biannually or once a year. And we thought that as a staff, we all agreed that that wasn't very inclusive of our population. We know that it was just too far between meetings to actually be productive. So we all agreed that based on our workloads, we do think that we can handle quarterly meetings of all the boards and commissions. So that is being proposed on the city council meeting this Thursday. Again, the council requested biannual, but we're countering with quarterly. So and then with that, it's not going to impact your commission, but we are recommending the combination of the Board of Architectural Review and the Planning Commission, because technically the Board of Architectural Review's purview is underneath the Planning Commission per the state law. So we're just going to be merging those to help with efficiencies.
And if it does go through with the quarterly meetings, I mean, the meeting in July is technically halfway through the year, and you would always have a meeting in July anyways.
Yes.
So that could be our first meeting, and then we would meet again in September? No, October.
Yes. It's not that staff wouldn't be doing things in the off months, and you can still communicate and you can still provide information or ask questions or, participate, but we just wouldn't. There's a lot of work that goes into creating a packet and a meeting and the facilitation. Some boards more than others. So I hope that helps. Yeah, your July meeting, you could adopt your work plan at.
Let me ask, didn't at one time the neighborhood Improvement Commission was included with the Parks and Rec Commission, correct?
Maybe. I know there was, let's see, art was separate from history, and then they combined those into the Art and History Commission. Maybe neighborhood improvement was with Parks and Rec. I don't recall that one as boldly.
I don't know how many people are on that commission, but we could, I think, do the work of that also.
It's a possibility.
I mean, they've only really been focusing on the House of the Month kind of thing. They really
mean,
have.
Oops, sorry. I'm pretty sure they're correct me if I'm wrong, they're currently working on helping to facilitate the build of that basketball court by the Salvation Army. Is that correct?
True, true. We're actually collaborating efforts on that.
They had the funding
Had the
because they got the funding through the STRs.
Right, right.
So
So-
historically, you are correct, though, that for many years, what they did facilitate was House of the Month, Business of the Quarter, and their annual holiday Christmas contest. Recently, since they've gotten that short-term rental income, as well as some more active partners, they've taken on different projects. But one of the questions that we had at a staff level, and we had a very robust discussion on this, was trying to make sure that the boards and commissions are staying in their own lane, and the projects, you know, a lot of the projects seem to commingle across commissions. So the Parks and Rec Commission gets to review things that the Neighborhood Improvement does, and the Art and History and the Bar are reviewing concurrent mural projects right now. So is it an effective thing to go forward having them separate? Maybe, maybe not. It just depends on what it changes into. One thing that I love about the boards and commissions is they're really, they are responsive to what the community wants right at that time. So it's a way that we can adapt to whatever our community is needing right then. We needed a homeless commission because we were having a homeless situation. We may not always need that, thank goodness. I hope not. I hope it's not a permanent commission, because hopefully we can resolve the issue of homelessness. You know, we have a youth commission on the books right now. We can't actually get active members. We have a human relations commission that has been inactive for over 10 years on the books. We don't need it anymore necessarily. So I love that they're responsive. So if you recommend that, we may be able to consider consolidation. That's a long answer, I apologize.
No, that's a good answer. Something to think about. Okay. Any more reports from rec staff? Or actually, we're back talking about the work plan. So are we going to table it until our next meeting? Because I think we are going to have our next meeting will be the first one of the fiscal year, July 20th, right?
Mhm.
Regardless if we do quarterly or monthly or whatever is decided. So what's your pleasure, people?
I make
Keep
a
it
motion.
the
Hi,
way it
everybody.
is.
Sorry I'm late.
Why don't we keep it
Oh.
the way it is?
What's that?
I'm-
The
I'm-
same date of the month.
I'd like to make a motion that we table the 2021
Annual work.
work plan and finalize it or follow up on July 20.
I second the motion.
Okay, it's been motioned and seconded to table our discussion and finalizing the 2020, 2021 work plan until our next meeting, July 20th. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Yeah, aye.
Hi.
Okay, motion carries. Motion carries. Beautiful. Was that Alicia Gaines Lynch that said, sorry, I'm late?
Yeah, I had
Oh,
a
okay.
lot going
Hi,
on.
Alicia. Good to see you.
Good to be here.
Okay. So we're down towards the end here, but that's okay. You're here. That's good. Reports from rec staff. I don't know if you have any more, Dan, to report because you did a pretty extensive report to begin with.
Just one thing I left out on, you know, obviously this is all a challenge for all of us as we, you know, kind of navigate it. And, you know, I was, you know, kind of proud of one of the things that we did kind of come up with in the beginning. You know, obviously we had to cancel our Easter event. So, you know, we came up with the Egg Express delivery, and we, you know, delivered eggs to over 500 families that, you know, would normally come to our event. So that was kind of a big deal. You know, staff was delivering eggs for over a week, and overwhelming positive response from everyone just to see their faces, especially when this was so new and everyone was kind of, you know, in, you know, a place of, you know, they just weren't feeling very good. So this was a good way to put a smile on their face. So that was something I was really proud of the team that we came together and put out there. We also did you know, it was not as big, but we did a little coloring contest thanks to Miss Sandra Gray, who had some coloring sheets that she designed herself. We put it out there and did a little social media blast and had people post them back on Instagram, and you know, the winners got a nice little Seaside swag bag. So, you know, we are coming up with some, you know, fun little things to do. If you guys haven't checked out the rec page in a while, Mr. Hey Takarabi has been coming in weekly doing Tai Chi. We've been videoing him. He's been coming in by himself, doing a little 15-minute video, and then I'm putting it up on the page. So that way people can, you know, do their Tai Chi with him just quickly on that video. So that's been nice. And then we have a couple, one of our rec leaders, Miss Kendall, has been doing some little basic science experiments that we've been posting on there too. So that's, you know, just a way to, you know, kind of keep the community engaged and active. So we're doing what we can with what we have, and you know, we're keep chugging along. Hopefully have some new creative stuff here for the kids in the community this summer.
Very good. Thank you, Dan. Reports from park staff. Do you have anything else, Scott?
And no, I don't have anything else to report.
Okay, that was pretty good report you gave us. It was. Thank you very much for that. Okay, commissioners, do you have any reports or any stuff to share with all of us? Willie, do you have anything?
No.
Okay, Diane?
I just want to say, when Dan was talking about going out to homes and delivering eggs, he also did a Mother's Day thing, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I forgot about that one. Thanks.
yeah. A friend of mine was telling me about that, and made her happy.
You know, and with that one too, you know, Dennis Volk at Mal's Market, he always donates roses for that event that we normally have our in-person event for that. So the fact that he still did the roses, and we gave them, we delivered them to all the seniors that we had in our database, the ladies. He also donated some scratchers and some chocolate. So they got a nice little surprise. And he's even done a couple cases of toilet paper for when toilet paper was hard to find. So we were able to deliver toilet paper to the seniors with their weekly meals.
Great. That's it for me.
Thank you, Diane. Alicia, do you have anything?
I don't.
You don't?
don't.
Okay, well, it's great to see you again.
Good to see you.
Okay, that's it for commissioners. Okay.
No, you forgot
I wanna
Franco.
Oh, I'm sorry, Franco. Oh, how can I forget you? You're brand new.
That's okay.
Do you have anything, Franco?
No, I just
I'm so
wanted
sorry.
to appreciate Mr. Ottmeyer and Mr. Mewis for sharing information with us and giving us a little more update. And I hope that we come back next meeting with a lot of ideas to put in this plan and update it, because I think it definitely needs some updating. Thank you.
good idea.
You stole my thunder. That's pretty much what I was gonna say. Thank you, Dan, and thank you, Scott, for all the great information and updates that you gave us. Thank you, commissioners, for being here. Thank you, Leslie, and thank you, Terry. Always appreciate all the hard work that you all do. And if there's nothing else, this meeting will be adjourned until our next regularly scheduled meeting, July 20th at 5:30. Thank you all and be well.
And
Hey,
everybody
congrats
have
to
a
all of you
good
on your first
afternoon.
Zoom Parks and Rec meeting.
Yeah, you guys did great.
Thank you.
It was a
Well done.
success.
Thank you.
Was. Thank
Great
you all.
job.
Have a good night, guys.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hi to Sunny.
Bye-bye.
You know,
I will.
oh, gosh.
Peace out.